If you don't follow me on other platforms, you might not know this, but I do a lot of meta thinking. And basically, that's just a fancy way to say that I do a lot of thinking about thinking. Not because I'm intelligent or smart, just because I'm curious about it. I'm curious why humans, as a species, we've convinced ourselves that we can almost think our way into anything and think our way out of almost everything. What do I mean by that? We believe that our minds and our ability to think are who we are. What a strange concept that is. We're living creatures who, just because we have the ability to think, somehow that became who we are. And we believe we can think ourselves into a performance. And I know I'm speaking to a lot of people who want to do great things in your life. Whether that's a profession in special operations or something in the civilian sector. You're not watching this channel because you want to be normal. But hear me clearly. Thinking is just part of the process to get you to elite performance. You can't think yourself into elite performance. Just like a major league batter can't hit a major league fastball by sitting there thinking about it. By the time we're at the performance level, it's too late to think. Most of that has to be pushed down to the subconscious, non-thinking level, where our true wisdom lies. So I hear so many people so focused on thinking. Here's the secret. They don't even know they're thinking. They just think it's normal. They think the conversation that goes on in their head every second that they're awake, that's somehow just normal in them. Folks, what's going on in your mind is not you. It's not normal. And until you realize that it's a separate process from your true wisdom, it's going to keep distracting you. It's going to keep preventing you from reaching that elite level that you want to get to. Whether that's just being a human, being a husband, being a wife, whatever your goals are, you got to get thinking out of the way so you can be elite. So let's just think about the people we see in our daily lives, whether that's on TV, playing sports, whether that's somebody at work that's really good at what they do. And if we just peel back that onion a little bit, we realize they're not great because they're thinking. They're great at what they do because they flow at what they do. They can let go of thinking and just do. But they didn't get there by accident. And here's the whole point, I guess, behind what we're talking about. Obviously, you have to think and learn, be educated on the core concepts of whatever it is you want to do. And you got to get tons of reps. And there's no substitute for any of that. You can't watch videos and be good at something. That might be part of it, but it's only a small part. You got to get educated. You got to learn. You got to understand at a deep, visceral level. You got to get reps at those things. And then you got to learn to let all that go and let wisdom take over. I think the hardest school I ever went to in the military, during my special operations career, was an accelerated free fall instructor. And I know most of you probably don't know what that is, but that's where you learn how to teach people, brand new people, to skydive. Meaning you can take a civilian or a military person who has never jumped out of a plane with a free fall chute on their back and take them from step one all the way through their qualification jump. Now, the hardest part about this course is the actual skydives with the instructors who are acting like students. Now, as you can imagine, for this course, you have to have a lot of experience to even attend, to even try to be one of these instructors. Well, they measure experience off of your skydiving logbook and how many hours that you have skydiving. Well, I wanted to go to the course. Nobody from my unit had ever been. And so I may or may not have doctored up my logbook a little bit. I don't suggest this, by the way, because I got to the course woefully underexperienced and underprepared, and it showed really quick. We were in the wind tunnel doing our workups. The wind tunnel's a big giant building, if you don't know, where it has high velocity wind coming from the ground. And you jump on the wind cone and you fly inside a building. Well, this is where you do your workup before the course starts. And I sucked. Oh, there were some really good skydivers in there from the Army and the Navy. And then there was me, who was sucking. And then we were in Orlando doing that, Orlando, Florida. We're gonna have to fly out to Arizona, out to Tucson to do the actual course. And I was nervous, like there's no way I'm passing this course. And I hated to fail. More specifically, I hated to look stupid in front of people, especially these high caliber dudes. But I went anyway, and it wasn't pretty at first. I think we ended up doing 29 jumps, and only like the last 6 count. The rest of them were workup jumps. But what I couldn't make up was my lack of knowledge, my lack of experience. So we started jumping. And instructors knew right away that, oh man, this guy isn't great. So they did a great job of coaching me. When we get down on the ground, we'd watch the video footage. They'd give me some tips. And I'd suck it all in. And I'd put the parachute back on again and we'd go back up again. It wasn't good. But it took me to about jump number 18 to realize why it wasn't good, why I couldn't do this, why I was having such a hard time. And I started thinking about all the people that I knew that were good at skydiving and then good at sports like golf, baseball, football. Then I realized what was happening. My brain was in overdrive. I couldn't get my thinking brain out of the way. So I remember it was one of our last practice jumps. We got to the edge of the ramp, and it's me and this one other guy, and we're holding our student. And I remember just looking at that instructor. And in my head, something clicked. Physically, I could feel something click in my head. As I looked at him and said, in my head, "You'll never get away from me again." And that did it. My thinking brain went away. We exited the aircraft. Anytime he started to move front, back, above, or sink, or climb in altitude, I could see his body starting to move. And I knew by that little movement where he was going to go. The education, the knowledge, and the reps that I'd gotten made it all click. And then the last piece has to happen. You got to trust. Because if you don't trust, you can't find flow. You can't let that wise inner unconscious self take over. I'd fed the unconscious enough knowledge and enough reps to where he's ready to take over if I trusted enough to let go. I was by far the worst skydiver there, who had lied about how many jumps I had. And you do 6 jumps trying to earn 6 points. Not gonna go into that grading scale, it's changed now, and it was hard. But after my 4th jump, I'd have got my 6 points and I was done. The first one in the course to pass. All because I was able to get my thinking brain out of the way. Now, if all this is sounding kind of weird to you, kind of wacky, do me a favor. After this video's over and you like and subscribe, which helps the channel and costs you nothing, so please do it. I want you to go to YouTube and I want you to search the backwards bicycle and watch that video. And you're gonna see this dude who created this bicycle that when you turn it right, it actually steers left and vice versa. It messes up your brain. You have to go back into the learner again and watch him learn to ride that bike and watch the moment that it clicks. And you will understand what happened to me on the back of that ramp that day and what's waiting to happen to you. So the moral of what we're talking about today, the thinking mind, is it required? Yes, of course. When it comes to performance, your thinking mind is only useful in the initial steps of any skill. You got to do the hard work to learn the skill, to get reps at it. But once it's time to apply it, especially in real world situations, you got to trust enough to let the thinking mind go. That little click. I had to control a lot of close air support overseas in some pretty horrendous firefights with our Army and Navy counterparts. There wasn't time to think through the steps. There wasn't time to think through the munitions that I needed dropped, or to think through where everybody was on target. Make sure I didn't drop bombs on them. Like, all that had to come from the wisdom part, from the unconscious self, who I outfitted with all the tools to make the right decisions at the right time, and with all the trust I could muster. And it worked out every time, because I trusted myself enough to get the thinking mind out of the way. Now the question I pose back to you is, what are you doing in your life? What do you want to be a lead at? And then go look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself if you're doing all the steps that it requires to reach that goal. think if the majority of us are being honest, we're probably not. So let's give some critical feedback to ourselves and frickin' fix it. Start reading. Start getting some hard reps. Start getting yourself uncomfortable. Learn the skill. And then let go. All right, y'all. We'll see you back here next time.